Today we are going to take the front bumper off. Now, I've seen a lot of questions on the forums about how to do this. There are even some diagrams that show you how to do it, but I haven't seen a video that's pretty comprehensive that really gets into what you have to do to accomplish that. So today we're going to tackle that. There are many reasons people take their bumpers off, one being DRLs, one being the headlights, one being a bumper swap. You may want to go from an EX bumper to an SX bumper. You might want to take your bumper off to do a grill swap. Okay, so first things first. You've got these little screws right here, these little plastic guys. If you've done any mods to your car, you know these are everywhere. These have to come out. This one, that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one. These bolts right here hold this little top shroud to the bumper fascia. These two bolts right here, they need to come out as well. This one as well as this one. Okay, that's the top. Now over here on the side, right there, it's a bolt. You can't see it, but it's there. Trust me, it's there. You'll know it. And that's going to have to come off. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off all these little plastic tabs and get this thing out of my way, and then we'll start working on the rest of it. There's also some hardware on the bottom, and we'll get into that a little bit later. For those of you who have not read through the other threads or who are not familiar with these sort of fittings, these little guys can be a pain in the butt. You'll spin the screw and it won't come up. If that happens, and it will, I guarantee it will, on at least half of these little guys, all you have to do is take a little flathead, kind of get it underneath the screw with one hand. You kind of pry up on that while you turn this screw. If you do that, you get a little bit of a gap. You can pretty much pull these out when they're about halfway out. Okay, FYI, these little guys right here, they take a 10mm socket. You could use a wrench if you wanted to. Okay, now after I take out these two, okay, at this point we've got all the screws out of the top. All the screws, as well as the two bolts that hold this intake in. Now, all you have to do with this little guy, now that you got those two bolts up, is lift up and out. That's it. Okay, first things first, we remove the top screws and bolts from the top. The only two that we have left to take out are this bolt here and this bolt here. Okay, as you can see, after removal of all of those fasteners, this here is pretty much just free. Now, you don't want to go just yanking on stuff just yet. There's a lot more we've got to take out. This top part where the grill connects down to the lower part of the bumper is pretty flimsy, so you want to be careful with this joint right here where they connect. You don't want to just yank on this. We're going to go underneath the car now. Okay, I am on the front driver's side of the car. This is the fog light housing. I'm going under here just to show you some idea of what you're looking at right now. And we're going to have to remove this little guy here. We're going to have to take this guy out. We're going to have to take this guy out. And along the front here, you're going to have several more of these. You're going to have one here. And as you see, they go all the way down. There also is this bolt right here that has to come out. This connects the front bumper to the undercarriage of the car by bolt. Anyway, moving on. I'm going to take this stuff out and I'll show you what we got. Okay, so we've got all these little guys loose. This is the driver's side wheel area. This is where you would go to change your fog light bulb. All these little suckers are out all the way down, including this little guy here, which this is a 10mm bolt, by the way. And we've got the passenger side loose. Now you don't have to have your car up on ramps to do this. You can probably reach this without doing that or without jacking the car up. I like to do it because I am a big guy and I like to have room to work. In the seam here that you see, there's a bolt right here, and I don't really have room to get to that, so I'm going to jack my car up from the jack point down here. I'm going to leave it on the ramps, and that'll give me some more clearance. Now my car's lowered on Megan springs, so I don't have as much clearance as some people might. If you're running stock, I can tell you that you can do this without doing what I'm going to do, because that's what I did the first time. Okay, so what I've done at this point is I've jacked the side up, and you'll see that I've got a much bigger gap here to work with. And I can't get to the bolt with the video to show you, but there's a bolt there. You're just going to have to trust me. I put mine up on ramps so I could get started, and if I'd had a little bit of more foresight, I would have just put jack stands at the jack points to begin with, and then I had my gap, and it would have made this a lot easier. Okay, now after removing, which is the 8mm bolt that's under here, all I've done is I've kind of pulled up and out on this to snap this out a little bit. Now, don't pull on your bumper right now. Do not pull on your bumper. There are hidden screws inside. If you don't believe me, you can check out this little tear right here from the first time I took my bumper off as evidence to such. There are a lot of guys on the forums who will say, oh, don't worry, just pull on your bumper. Get a little violent with it. Yeah, well, I think that's some pretty stupid advice, personally. They're really easy to tear. Heard multiple members talk about that they've torn their bumpers. And if you don't know what you're doing, don't just go wildly pulling on something unless you're sure you have all the fasteners off. Now, I don't know if I can get the camera in here, but inside here, there are more bolts. Now, I don't have a very good view because of my placement, but once I get them off, I'll show you where those bolts were. Those need to come off. You'll have to pull this back. You'll be able to reach up inside there and take the nuts off and the bolt. There's 3 on each side. Those need to come off before you pull on the bumper. Cannot stress that enough. We have the 2 nuts and the 1 bolt loose from inside here on both sides now. You can either access it from the side in the wheel well, or you can actually kind of get to it up from underneath. I kind of use a combination of both. As far as the size on that, again, that is that's a 10mm socket. Again, this is the bolt hole for the 8mm bolt I showed you earlier. After you pull that out, you just kind of pop these out of these tabs right here. You just kind of lift up and out. There's nothing holding the bumper on right now, and I'm on my own, so I'm not going to be able to actually show you me pulling the bumper off the car, but that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to get in front of the car, and I'm going to gradually pull out on either side, and then when one side drops, I'm going to pull out the other side. And that's pretty much all there is to it. One thing I did not mention is that you want to make sure and disconnect your fog light harnesses before you pull the bumper off. If not, when you go to pull the bumper off, you'll notice that you're still hung up on something, and that's just this little guy right here that'll be connected to your fog lights, assuming you're equipped with fog lights, which 95% of Optimas are. The wire you see coming into mine is for my daytime running lights, and unfortunately, the way I've got that wired in, that's not going to come undone, so my bumper's going to have to stay kind of close to the car. These little suckers here are the 2 studs that have nuts on them, and this little hole is the bolt that I was telling you about that are on the inside that you have to remove to get the bumper off. Now, personally, I think it's a little bit redundant. you've got 2 nuts here and a bolt right here. So I am not in any way endorsing this for anybody else, but when I put my bumper back on, just like I did last time, I don't put this bolt in. I put these 2 nuts on and I call it a day. It's just too much of a pain in the ass. I don't fool with it. Again, I don't endorse anybody else doing that. I know you're going to say, well, it was engineered with that in mind. That being said, you draw your own conclusions. Me, personally, that bolt, it is not going back on. These 2 do. That one I'm leaving off. Part of the reason is because I plan to take my bumper off more than once. And it's just a lot easier. You can see my bumper's already been cut. My bumper's actually cut back farther than most people cut it for their DRLs. I'm just throwing this out there for those of you who are considering doing the daytime running light swap out, or the daytime running light mod. You'll notice that my bumpers have a pretty short cut. When I cut my bumper, I wanted to make sure I had plenty of room. Some people may address safety issues and concerns with that. What I can tell you is that I could go to the dealer and buy the SXL bumper extension bar and put it on there if I so choose. But I figure it's a low impact device anyway, and if I hit something hard enough that little sucker matters, chances are it's not going to do me a lot of good. So anyway, there you have it. That's how you take the bumper off of a 2011, 2012, or a 2013 Kia Optima. If you have any questions or if you have any comments about this video, please list them below. And happy modding. Thanks a lot, guys. This is Drew.